welcome back to Let's Talk Tech, the show where we talk weekly about technology. I'm Aidan, and that's Bryce.
What is up, everybody? This show's a little bit different than normal.
Just a little.
Just a little.
We like to change things up. Maybe not this much, though.
I mean, it is a weekly show, and we've kind of missed a few weeks.
Just
a few. No, nothing happened at all. I mean, it's not. We just didn't have any tech news to talk about. I mean, there was something more important going on, definitely.
In the past few months, a little bit more important than tech, I'd say. Something that also has been infecting tech, happening, COVID-19.
Yes, definitely. And that kind of
reason for the season.
That kind of put the entire world on halt, including our show. No, I'm just kidding. We stopped the show a few months before all of that.
Just a few. Yeah,
but it did stop. It did stop our reboot. We did have a reboot, and we were just like, yeah, we can't do it right now. But we are finally doing the show remote again, which is good. So you guys will get your weekly tech news and commentary from your two favorite idiot teenagers. I mean,
yeah, two favorite tech commentators in the professional space. Definitely professionals. Anyway, I mean, COVID-19, it's been a little weird, I would say. I mean, for sure. Completely normal. Oh, yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I honestly have been doing everything I've been doing just at home. And
including the show now.
Yeah, even this right now. COVID-19 has been kind of impacting the tech industry a lot. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's a lot coming out anymore. Just because of everything that's been happening.
I mean, one good example of that, I mean, we kind of had that whole debate over whether or not Google would release the Pixel 4a. That did not happen.
No.
I mean, it was supposed to happen, so we got close. We got this close to having a Pixel 4a, and then Google I/O gets canceled. That's just my luck. I lost that bet.
Yeah. I mean, some strange circumstances for losing the bet, but still, I came out on top. So
strange circumstances. It's a global pandemic. I mean, give me a break here.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Luck's just not on your side. But anyway, I mean, other than that, things are pretty weird around the world right now.
Definitely.
And I know people aren't really going to be looking at technology, looking at buying new technology right now.
I don't know. I'll take the opposite side of that. I think people have been paying more attention to technology than ever before. I mean, we saw the mass migration to Zoom calls. We saw, all the schools going remote. We saw churches going remote, a bunch of churches, investing in live streaming software and things like that. I think the only thing that we had to bring us together was technology. And so, I would say people, and social media especially, social media is playing a huge role right now in keeping people connected. I mean, me and you are talking to each other over the messaging app right now to make this show possible. So, I'd say people are more connected to tech than ever before.
Yeah. Just, I guess, a different sector for me, less the hardware side and stuff like that, more of the software side now with Zoom and a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of new hardware. I mean, we have seen the iPhone SE, if you want to mention that.
I mean, I like it.
It's just a cheap reskinned iPhone 8. I'm sorry, Apple. Why?
Maybe it's the old Apple fanboy in me, but I love the SEs. I love the line, and I don't know. I think they're cool. I think it's like Apple in a cheaper mainly is the thing I like about it. Package. I think it's got to be weaker, but
I mean, you're right. I'll take you on that. But I mean, that's pretty much the only real hardware release that I can think of right now.
Yeah,
I mean, we are in the midst of a growing console war. Between PlayStation and Xbox, and we'll definitely be talking about that next week on the show because we're seeing the Xbox gaming event. The long-awaited, we get to see what Xbox has been cooking up on their new hardware, which will be super excited. Yeah, definitely. That's really the only big hardware that I can think of. I mean, everything's really just kind of come to a halt.
I mean, as for releases, I think in the hardware section, it's been harder and harder nowadays to find. I mean, I know I've wanted to get a Nintendo Switch recently, even though I already have one, a second one. And
He's getting 2 Nintendo Switches.
yeah. So I've been wanting to find one and get one recently. And I don't know if anybody's checked the availability on them, but it wasn't good before the pandemic, and it especially is not good now.
Oh
It
man,
is far from good.
I heard some people who were looking to buy a new Xbox. Just an
Hmm.
Xbox One S. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, pretty normal.
Back ordered like crazy because Microsoft is
Yeah.
already under manufacturing those devices because there's not a huge amount of demand, and then all of a sudden that demand spikes because everyone's at home.
Yeah, it's everybody wants one now, and they just cannot supply. I mean, I did that. I pre-ordered well, not pre-ordered. I ordered a Valve Index recently, and I am on 14 plus week backlog to try and get it.
Oh
My
my
hope is the pandemic
gosh.
is over by the time I.
Honestly,
So
though, it we might just get to the point where this could just be a new reality, and that's something that tech is gonna have to adapt to. That's something
yeah.
that's something that people are gonna have to adapt to, whether you like it or not. Wear a mask,
Hmm.
please.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
as as far as it goes for me, it would be a pretty bad reality, but I don't think it would hit me personally as hard as it would hit a lot of the other people. I mean, I basically only go out of the house for work and let's talk tech, but we've found a solution to one of those, and
yeah,
the other
finally.
one is still happening. So if this is a new reality, as much as it'll suck, I think I can handle it. I
Yeah.
hope it doesn't happen though.
Nah, I mean, my new reality, I mean, will be impacted less and less by it over time as time goes on, honestly. I mean, it's not like we're going to be, I mean, we've already seen sort of a loosening of the restrictions type of thing. But like honestly, I wouldn't be too worried like about this halt on manufacturing for too long. I think we'll start to see,
Yeah.
especially with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. I honestly think it's time that we start seeing some new hardware soon.
Yeah, I hope at this point though, I don't know. I don't need my new hardware as much as I really want people to be safe. So I mean,
Definitely.
I
And we
think the
want and we
loosening of
want the people
restrictions,
making those hardware safe as well.
yes, absolutely. I think at this point, I'm fine with a few delays here and there. I mean, even if the next generation is delayed, because as the pandemic keeps going, it seems like the end date, quote unquote, for this pandemic, when we think things are going to be able to reopen, is getting pushed farther and farther back. So
Mm-hmm.
if consoles get delayed, if a lot of the stuff I'm looking for is delayed, I think at the end of the day it'll be fine. But I don't know. It is still pretty weird. I hope it isn't completely our new reality.
I hope not too, because we've got tech news to talk about.
For sure.
We've got an entire show for you guys today, packed one actually. So
Yeah.
let's just jump right into it.
Yep, let's go straight in. All right. So first segment coming back on break, and it's a big one. It's one I'm
Oh yeah,
excited for.
oh yeah.
And we just got to quickly put on our conspiracy caps.
Tinfoil hats are coming on this episode, just an FYI. So get ready. No, we're not talking about 5G and coronavirus. No, 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 not that, not
We're
that.
staying away from that one because that is too dumb for this show, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
That
Yeah,
that's a barrier that's hard to go below, but it is definitely too dumb.
guys, 5G is not causing coronavirus. Please shut up. Please,
Mhm.
please.
But the
But
long awaited thing we're talking about now is the DrDisrespect ban. I don't
yes.
know if anybody's been following it, but am I am beyond amazed. I can't even describe it in words. I am so amazed at what has been happening. I don't know what's happening even. I mean,
I
for the
don't think
past three
anyone
weeks,
knows what's going on anymore.
not at all. I mean, for the past 3 weeks, we've all been in the dark about what's been happening with Dr. Disrespect. And I mean, I didn't even watch him that much, is the thing. I watch Twitch quite a bit, but I haven't even watched Dr. Disrespect in like a
Same,
month.
same. Like I've seen highlights of him. You know, I know who he is. I know the kind of personality that he tends to go for. You know, very aggressive type gamer. You know,
Yeah.
be a man type thing. But what happened to him is just.
I mean, for the first few days, we had zero idea what happened. I mean, if you've seen the 6 minute clip that he of him on his stream, it was eerie to say the least. I mean, it genuinely felt uneasy
Well, back
watching it.
up just a little bit for people who aren't familiar, who maybe haven't caught up with Dr. Disrespect. You know, he's this live streamer, you know, very popular on the live streaming gaming website, twitch.tv.
Yeah, I believe he's actually third right now.
Yeah, third
Yeah,
most popular.
Third or somewhere around there.
Well, until he got banned. That's what we're all talking about now. I mean, he just randomly one day disappears from the platform. Nobody knows what happened. This was like 3 weeks ago. I mean, it's been 3 weeks and we still don't have any idea what happened to him. For the first few days, he was just completely silent about the ban, before finally acknowledging it and just being all like, "We don't know what's happening either." I mean, that's just crazy.
And I mean, that statement on his Twitter has been the only thing he said about it up until I think 2 days ago or something, where he actually sat down with PC Gamer and what was the other one?
Oh, the Washington Post.
The Washington Post. He sat down with them and conducted an interview, and he has not said much, if anything, about the ban since then. So only 2 pieces of information we have about the ban, and they are not enlightening at all. No information from Twitch. And we are just completely in the dark.
I think
the largest streamers.
I think it's important to recognize Twitch doesn't normally comment on the reasonings for bans. I can't think of a single Twitch streamer where Twitch actually said, "Oh yeah, this is why." Well, besides Donald Trump. But I can't think of any. And that's a whole other topic. Trump getting banned from Twitch. But Twitch never, you know, discloses, "Hey, this is why a streamer got banned." It's up to the streamer. And so, okay, we're all like, okay, then fine. Dr. Disrespect will tell us why he got banned. And then he doesn't, because as it turns out, even he doesn't know why he got banned. So, like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's a crazy situation. But I mean, at least I expected Twitch to say something about the ban, you know? Because I mean, top of their platform, recently signed an exclusivity deal with Twitch, like 2 months before his ban, something like that.
A multi-million-dollar contract, mind you.
Multi-million deal, and they just permanently ban him for no apparent reason. I mean, it is earth-shattering in the Twitch community because we have no info, and I don't even know who to trust in this scenario. Was Twitch doing the right thing? Was Dr. Disrespect actually saying the truth when he said he didn't know why he was banned? I mean, it's unheard of.
A lot of people were pointing out that his wording, saying we don't know the quote-unquote exact reasoning, a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's a little weird. Maybe he knows a very vague reason but doesn't know the specifics behind it." A lot of people were saying that it was very lawyer speak, type of speech from him. So maybe, you know, you could be right. Maybe he's not being completely honest. Maybe he does have a general idea and just can't comment on it for legal reasons.
Yeah, and I mean, that legal speak has been the case for both of his statements. If you actually go and read the statements he made to PC Gamer and the Washington Post, they were very lawyery. He didn't answer most of the questions that they asked him because he had a legal counsel with him, which I think reflects kind of poorly on the situation that's happening right now.
Well, yeah, the fact that both sides are probably very heavily lawyered up, that should be alarming.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like a stalemate at this point. I have to assume something's going on behind the scenes, but the fact that we have zero information on it besides what certain drama type people have posted about it, like Slasher and Twitch and gaming news, stuff like that. I mean, besides that, we have basically nothing confirming, nothing talking about it, even friends of Dr. Disrespect. I mean, nobody knows anything, and it has left so much room for conspiracies. I mean, everybody has been guessing as to what happened to Dr. Disrespect.
Okay, so should we get into some of the theories? Some people are, I mean, obviously, you know, when you leave people for 3-ish weeks with no idea what on earth happened, people start to get a little suspicious and they start coming up with their own little theories. So, like, we want to get into sort of like what people are guessing.
I definitely want to. I mean, I do want to glaze over one of them. I think that it is important here to take out the sort of sexual misconduct allegations, because I think those are kind of baseless at this point and only go to further the situation. I mean, at this point, we have nothing confirming it, and I think until we do, we kind of need to keep those out of the conversation.
Definitely, I think that's a bit of a wild card.
Yeah, I think at this point, there's no way to tell that. I think there are much simpler and more realistic explanations for the situation, like what some people have been saying, him moving platforms.
Mm-hmm. Do you think?
I think that would be a reason for them to ban him, right? I mean, he just signed a deal with them.
Well, yeah. I mean, you signed an exclusivity deal, and you're constantly bashing Twitch. You're frustrated with them, maybe, and maybe who knows? He could have like maybe gone to some other streamers, like, you know, Ninja is in the middle of a move right now, ever since Mixer shut down, trying to decide where he's going. Shroud also, you know, maybe he's talking to some other streamers and trying to get them, you know, big name people onto a brand new streaming platform, maybe his own streaming platform. That seems like a pretty legitimate reason to want to kick him off, because Twitch is probably like, hey, you're starting your own streaming platform. What are you doing trying to poach people off of the streaming platform that you're currently live streaming on every single day with an exclusivity deal that's worth millions of dollars?
Yeah, and I mean, people have been talking about that. I mean, I knew that was super, super interesting at the beginning of the ban, because there was, I forget the name of it. It was a really small Twitter account associated with a new streaming platform.
Yes.
That was trying to get up. And people were talking about it, saying, hey, I think this is what happened to Dr. Disrespect. I think he's moving to them.
There was some people trying to suggest that startup was Spotify funded, Google and Spotify funded. Totally fake. No, they're not.
Yeah, I think a buyout from them is now we know that that's not going to happen at all. But at the time, we had sort of thought, oh, hey, he's moving, which isn't that bad. It was kind of a weird scenario considering his last stream, but we just thought it was typical Doctor being Doctor, doing the things he's going to do. So people looked into it, and it turns out that they followed Dr. Disrespect. I believe it was Dr. Disrespect, Ninja, and Shroud, and a few other streamers. Some pretty big names that they were following, so it kind of made sense. The Twitter account for this service followed them. We thought that they were funded by Google and Spotify, and we thought, oh, okay, we found an explanation. And then it comes out that, no, they are not funded by them at all.
No.
Can't afford a buyout. And now we're just left in the dark, not knowing what happened.
Yeah, that startup, honestly, as soon as I looked at it, I thought, okay, interesting, a startup. You know, maybe someone else is trying to get into a streaming platform, which is very hard to do, by the way. I mean, if you want to topple Amazon, Google, you know, all these streaming giants right now, Facebook, that's a very hard and aggressive market to get into. I mean, but as soon as I looked at this, I was like, oh, this is some group of idiot 15-year-olds trying to make a buck or two off of a streaming service. I mean, it really wasn't anything impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the platform didn't seem sound at all. It didn't seem very professional. I mean, maybe it'll come back and it will be a big... It seemed very far in the works, and it seemed honestly like something two guys had put together, not multi-billion dollar companies that were able to afford these big names in streaming.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, we looked at that, and then we thought maybe he's switching over to Mixer or Facebook Gaming, or not Mixer, to Facebook Gaming or to like YouTube Gaming or some other big platform that could afford him. And I mean, at this point, does that seem likely to you?
I would bet YouTube. And the reasoning why, the main reason for now at least, is because he changed his Twitter bio from saying twitch.tv/DrDisrespect to youtube.com/DrDisrespect. Kind of similar to what Ninja did after the Mixer leave. And so that would be my guess. I mean, it makes sense. He could stream on YouTube. I mean, obviously, he's probably with the fishy circumstances right now. I wouldn't expect him to get an exclusivity deal with YouTube. I mean, that just seems far-fetched at this point. But he's free. He's free to stream wherever he wants. I mean, the dude could go to Facebook Gaming if he wanted to, or start his own site or something like that. I mean, it's obvious he's no longer in contract with Twitch. That contract has been breached due to the suspension. So, I mean, he's free to go wherever he wants. And YouTube just seems like, I mean, there's a big audience there. Seems like the right choice to me. That's what I would do.
Yeah, well, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think YouTube said that they're not getting in a bidding war anymore. I think Twitch also said that too.
Yeah, honestly,
I think after the whole bidding war, I think they actually sat down and said, hey, we aren't doing this anymore. We can't afford it. And
it's expensive, yeah, for sure. And also it's kind of pointless because, look, the streamer is going to go where the streamer's audience is. That's just a fact. And if he no longer has his audience on Twitch, he still has a sizable following on YouTube. It would be kind of hard to get a sizable following on Facebook Gaming, so just go to YouTube.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the switch for him, if he is thinking about switching, which his statements kind of sounded very grim for the future. I mean, I don't know if you read them, but they were actually pretty frightening for
honestly,
the future
I think,
of DrDisrespect.
I think he doesn't want to leave Twitch. Sorry.
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't, and so that makes me kind of doubt that he's going to start his own streaming service. I think whatever move he is going to do, I think that he wants that to be as painless as possible. And so just switching on over to YouTube would probably be the least painful route to go.
Yeah, I think the least painful will absolutely be YouTube. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, when this first started, I was like, well, I mean, of course, it was a mistake or something. Somebody clicked the big red button that said ban DrDisrespect.
It was DMCA was something I heard a lot.
Yeah, the DMCA. I mean, obviously, I just thought, oh, okay, it's an accident. Give it a few days, and he'll be back up, and he'll obviously have some choice words for Twitch staff. But I mean, what else? But as this has gone on, do you think there's any chance that he gets unbanned? I mean, he signed a multi-million-dollar deal. You think
and that tells you how important.
Steady on this?
The multi-million-dollar deal tells you how important he should be to Twitch. They were willing to shell out millions of dollars to keep him there. And then all of a sudden he's kicked out? No, I don't think he's getting unbanned. Sorry.
I don't think so?
It had to have been drastic enough for them to just drop him like that. He was important to them. So the fact that they dropped him like that signals to me that something very, very, very... something has gone very wrong.
Yeah. That definitely is the vibe I've gotten from the statements. I mean, if I had to give my guess for the most likely scenario here, I would say he was negotiating with other people to start a move to maybe an existing platform like YouTube Gaming, or maybe to some other third party that we haven't really heard of yet. I don't know about the third party. It seems like people would have found that by now, found somebody trying to do something. And I can't really think of any company that's trying to get into the space that isn't already in there.
If he's going to go third party, it would be his own website, Champions Club. Sorry. I don't see him going anywhere else. Facebook Gaming, no.
I can't even see his own website though. That seems like a very painful.
That would be very difficult.
Because then he has to start doing all of the hosting. Yeah, he has to do everything by himself on the website. It seems like something that he wouldn't really want to do, because then who do you blame if your stream goes down? Because
you're hosting it all yourself, that's going to cut into your revenue. Whereas if you just host off of YouTube, that revenue cut is a lot less on YouTube as compared to hosting it yourself.
Well, I mean, I don't know how big the revenue cut would be, because if he does go to a
25%, just say that 25%-ish.
Even 25%, I mean, the amount they take from subs. I don't know if the exclusivity deal had anything about subs or getting more from subs, but usually I believe they take about half of your subs. They take about 50% of your monthly sub money.
Yeah,
So
on Twitch they'll take 50% of your subs. On YouTube, generally it's about 25% of your overall revenue.
yeah. So I mean, even if it costs 25, that's the switch I would want to do if I was in his position. Even if it costs 25% of your revenue, overall, it'll be a sturdier platform. If you build it correctly and partner with the right people to keep your service up and running, it will be sturdier. It will keep you online with less latency because they have nobody else running on that platform. And he can ensure the quality of his stream. And honestly, for the whole like area, the whole Twitch streaming and streaming in general as an industry, I think it'd be a pretty interesting place to see it go. Sort of smaller streamers go and gain popularity. And if you want to go watch like Variety, just browse the front page. You go over to Twitch. But if you actually want to watch somebody big and who has a very large following, you go over to their website. I think that could be a pretty interesting way to take the space. But do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. It doesn't seem like him.
It seems unlikely, honestly, to just go up and start your own. I definitely think he would just piggyback off of YouTube because it's easy and it makes sense. But you're right. I mean, especially with like other streamers, imagine, Champions Club, the place where small streamers, and he brings in this audience and suddenly, all these streamers you've never heard of, everyone's together, we all live in harmony type of thing. I think that would make sense. I think it's unlikely at this point though.
Yeah. I think a platform started by creators could be cool. But I don't know. I don't know if there's much more to theorize here.
To give some context with the frustrations with Twitch, you say, a platform started by creators. That's honestly one of the biggest frustrations with YouTube, with Twitch. There's this big disconnect between the corporate monoliths controlling the platforms and the actual creators who enjoy the platforms but are having problems with it.
Yeah, I mean, corporations actively protect themselves, and it doesn't seem like some big disassociated mass of creators posting in one place to get their media out there. It feels like one big corporation owns all your content, which I don't know if I like it. If I was a creator, especially on YouTube or some big platform like that, and we're on all the podcast networks and we don't really feel the heat as much as other people. But if I was on those platforms, I wouldn't really like it.
No.
Wouldn't really like it at all.
And especially when you have to deal with, all these problems, like YouTubers having to deal with all kinds of copyright issues. DMCA is just killing Twitch recently. All of these big problems. You're kind of just looking around like, what are we gonna do? And they feel like they don't have any other choice maybe but to start their own platform.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, we have given the creators enough money to start their platform. Well, maybe not to start a very robust platform, but
to start something.
Up and off the
to
ground.
Start something.
To start something. If we had these big creators like Shroud, Ninja, DrDisrespect, just because we were already talking about them, if we had them merge together and start a platform, it could actually have some legs. Maybe it wouldn't be as big as Twitch or YouTube gaming or Facebook gaming, but it would definitely be a threat. Just because you bring these huge communities that have been made on Twitch over to their platform.
I'll counter you with that, actually. I don't know if you remember, maybe it was 2 years ago when PewDiePie, of course, the world's largest YouTuber, or formerly, signed an exclusivity live streaming deal with a small live streaming service called, I think it was DLive. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, he kind of killed that though.
They had like maybe one successful stream and a bunch of other creators hopped onto the site, and now it's basically dead. I mean, now PewDiePie has a exclusivity deal with YouTube, I believe, YouTube.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden this DLive, it didn't go anywhere, and it had the world's largest YouTuber behind their back.
Well, I think the important thing for something like that would be to have multiple creators. And I think especially for someone like PewDiePie, I mean, how many active... I mean, you gotta look at the communities here. YouTube, the YouTube community and consumers of YouTube content aren't super active all the time. They don't make it their life to consume this
Right.
content. But if you look at Twitch, I mean, if Ninja is streaming right now, how many people does he have? Too many. Too many people. He has like tens and tens of thousands that are active whenever he's online, no matter what. And that's just something the YouTube platform can't say they have.
And not only
They don't
that,
have
but
that many people.
it's difficult to promote your live stream, honestly, on YouTube because people are coming to YouTube to watch on-demand video.
Yeah.
They're not coming for scheduled live streams. So I'll understand your point that translating a YouTube audience to a live streaming service is kind of difficult. I get that. It's probably easier to but also I just feel like only the diehard fans will follow. Your average Twitch viewer who just enjoys watching DrDisrespect and then moves on to his next streamer and then his next streamer isn't going to want to go off of Twitch because it's too much of a hassle. You have to relearn another website. Maybe you have to sign up, create another account. That's a pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I could definitely see that. I don't know, though. I don't know how interested this community is in going and seeing DrDisrespect again. I mean, with the whole ban thing, I think that this is definitely setting it up for some. I mean, I know for sure I would create an account on whatever platform he goes to just to watch his first stream back.
Yeah, that would be an exciting stream. Yeah.
Yeah, I assume most of the people who've been following this 3-week fiasco would, and that's so many people. I could definitely see it getting a giant head start based on the scenario of what's been happening with DrDisrespect. But I don't know. I think we'll have to see with this. There's not much more theorizing I can do, at least.
No, definitely not. I think we've hit the end where that comes, but it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. It's definitely a very weird situation for sure. I'm definitely interested to see what happens. I hope it's not anything bad, really. I hope it's just something stupid, like he was trying to start another streaming service or something like that. I hope it's something stupid like that. Nothing terrible. That would really suck, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely would.
But yeah, that's the story that's been shaking the world for the past the online world at least, for the past 3 weeks. I know it was trending on Twitter a couple of times. It's definitely important to some people, and we wanted to give our thoughts on that. So, continuing on with topics that sort of shook the online world recently, so to speak, this past week, there was a pretty major Twitter hack. I don't know if you heard about this. It was pretty big. It was an inside job too, which just makes this so much more juicy. Basically, on Wednesday, we saw so many high-profile Twitter accounts get hacked in order to promote a cryptocurrency scam. People were trying to farm Bitcoin, or not farm Bitcoin, but were trying to get some free Bitcoin, make some money, using high-profile Twitter accounts like Elon Musk, Joe Biden. A lot of high-profile Twitter accounts just all of a sudden hijacked. It felt like Twitter was having an apocalypse or something like that. I mean, this was some crazy stuff. I don't know. Did you hear about this at all?
Yeah, it was pretty big. I didn't see it firsthand. I wasn't online at the time, but I heard about the aftermath, and it's crazy. I mean, what was it? Like $100,000 of Bitcoin stolen? I mean, they have the transactions. That's so much money. I can't believe that many people fell for this scam.
I know. I mean, honestly, anything crypto, I'm sorry, I'm going to get some hate from the cryptocurrency fans out there, but anything crypto is a red flag to me online, honestly. I'm sorry. It just is. You need to take it with some level of scrutiny, because people are very, very, very interested in crypto, and if they want to use some somewhat suspicious ways of getting it, such as, hijacking high-profile Twitter accounts in a giant coordinated attack, they will do that. So, yeah, it does surprise me that many people fell for it, honestly. That's sad.
I don't know, maybe it's hindsight, maybe it's the fact that I've been in like the gaming, like economy-based game community before. I look at it and I immediately see, oh, okay, somebody's scamming you. It
Yeah.
doesn't to me it doesn't register as anything else. To me, I look at that and I go, doubling your money. It sounds very, very too good to be true. It's like you look at it and you
If
see
it's too
these really
good,
high profile people.
if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, and I mean you see that all of these people all at once posted it. It's it's definitely suspicious to say the least. I honestly, when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, okay, so how much did they steal? Like 1,000, 2,000. Like a couple people fell for it. It's like small amounts of money. No, $100,000. That is absurd. The fact that they got this many people with this scam is either I don't know. I gotta pat the scammers on the back a little bit, or the scammer, I guess, because it was an inside job. But I gotta pat them on the back a little bit because they picked some pretty good people in certain scenarios. Because they picked Mr. Beast. Did you hear about this? He got
Right.
picked for this, which is
Which is very
very,
interesting.
very good.
Because if you think about it, he's, someone who's obviously given away a lot of his own money. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I mean, he definitely picked whoever is behind this definitely picked the right people. I think what made it pretty obvious to me, because I first saw it when Elon Musk got hacked, and I don't know if you check Elon Musk's tweets very often, but if you look in the replies, there's all kinds of fake, pretend wannabe Elon Musk's account trying to promote Bitcoin scams. Hey, and they all have the same kind of wording too. It's, hey, I'm doing a special deal for my community, because I love crypto so much. Yes, I love, love, love crypto. And he's just all like, and you see these comments below his tweets, and they're all trying to impersonate him and get people to send them Bitcoin. And that's why at first I saw Elon Musk and I went, him tweet that, and I go, oh yeah, he's been hijacked. That's a scam. It was just so obvious. But I realized obviously not everyone checks Elon Musk's tweets, or
Hmm.
the replies to them. But it should have been obvious. I mean, come on, that was Joe Biden is not going to randomly start tweeting about cryptocurrencies and giving away doubling your crypto. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry,
I mean,
the dude doesn't know what state he's in half the time.
yeah, I mean, you look at it and it's honestly it's pretty well devised. They sent it to some good people. I mean, obviously Elon Musk probably a bad choice, but I don't know. I'm still pretty amazed with the Mr. Beast thing, just because he's not as big as some of the other people. They put that on Mr. Beast page, and they made the way they did it with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, and they didn't really give easy to follow instructions in the tweet. And they said, I know some of them, I think most of them said you had 30 minutes to send it, and then they would do it, or some time limit that doesn't seem like enough to set up cryptocurrency and then also send it. So they give you this time limit. So immediately, if you fall for it, you are immediately like, hey, let me not keep checking Twitter. Let me not keep checking if this is fake or real. Let me immediately go on to wherever I need to go to get cryptocurrency. Let me log in a wallet. Let me buy a crypto or buy a Bitcoin, and then or buy $1,000 in Bitcoin and send it over to this account ASAP. That way I can get my money back,
Mm-hmm.
double. And it's honestly it's well crafted. It's
It was very well crafted.
I mean I don't know how well crafted it is, but it works well. I don't know if
I mean,
crafting this
obviously,
was really that big a thing.
well, look, I mean, you could argue there was two goals here. One,
Mm-hmm.
to obviously get some money, and they succeeded in that. You have to admit they succeeded in getting some money. But the second goal, honestly, I think is to scare Twitter and
Yeah,
people as a whole online, because all of a sudden we're talking about hackers, and there's a lot of people on Twitter. The president of the United States writes tweets on Twitter. What are the odds that those get hacked?
yeah. Did he actually tweet one?
No, the president's account was fine.
Okay.
Obviously Joe Biden's wasn't, but
Yeah.
that still gives you that still like kind of makes you worried, especially in a world where we're always constantly tweeting things. You know, some world leader tweets out something not right and suddenly a fight breaks out or something like that,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it gets traced to hackers. Like that's a little concerning.
I mean, in a world where you have like deepfakes and stuff, to me at least, this kind of seems like a deepfake, or at least it has the implications of a deepfake. I mean, we all take for granted that Twitter accounts don't really tweet stuff unless the owner of that account was either one, very unsecure with their password and somebody somehow got it, or two, they actually tweeted it. So, I mean, in a world where we sort of take it for granted that these are the words of that person, it kind of is scary to have that shoved in our faces that, hey, other people can tweet from these accounts if they have the right access. And by the way, a lot of people have that access apparently.
And apparently so. A lot of people at Twitter have that access, and that you're right. The way they got into these accounts, this wasn't a SIM swapping account or attack. We see that a lot with high profile figures. What happens is these hackers, they call up a person's phone carrier if they have two-factor authentication. And they call up the phone carrier, pretend to be them, maybe do all the right security challenges or whatever, and they try to get a new SIM card from that phone carrier so that they can take over that person's account using their phone number. It's a very, 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 it only really happens to popular people, and thankfully we haven't really seen that hit normal people yet. But it's definitely a very, very concerning to see that the way that these accounts were hacked was an inside job. It was someone at Twitter had access and abused it. I mean, it's basically like an admin of a Minecraft server who's working on the Minecraft server, and all of a sudden they decide, oh, you know what, I don't like this Minecraft server anymore. And they destroy it. That's basically what happened here.
Yeah, and it also begs the question: how many people have this access? Because I don't know. I didn't expect somebody who was going to do this, or at least be able to do this, to have this access. I mean, I can't believe that it happened, first of all, and I can't believe that it was up for as long as it was. I mean, I assumed that if something like this happens, it goes under review by somebody higher up in the. It begs the question: do few people have this access? Was it just somebody up very high in Twitter who decided one day, hey, I'm just going to make a whole people tweet this and then collect the Bitcoin?
No, it was definitely an outside group reaching in to a Twitter employee and basically social engineering them into doing this, honestly, in my opinion. And that seems to be what Twitter was suggesting in their statement. So yeah, that's pretty scary, the fact that, some people with obviously very high access to Twitter can just randomly get access like this. That should make you a little bit worried about the safety and security of your own account. I mean, it's definitely something to keep in mind going forward.
I mean, honestly though, what are we to be worried about? It kind of seems cut and dry. If they want access to your account and somebody has ill intent to your account, they do it. Apparently that's what happens.
What was more interesting to me than the actual attack itself was Twitter's response, because you mentioned they were kind of slow to respond. I mean, this was a hours long attack. What ended up happening is they ended up preventing all verified accounts from tweeting for hours. And I thought that was very interesting, because I checked my Twitter timeline and it's so quiet. I mean, normally my Twitter timeline is fairly active, and I guess that's because I follow a lot of verified accounts. But all of a sudden, they're not able to tweet. And all of a sudden, my Twitter timeline's silent. It was very, very, very weird, honestly. But it goes to prove one of my favorite points about Twitter. This really proves my point. I always say the majority of the stuff that you see on Twitter is from a very small amount of people, i.e. popular people. The majority of the stuff you see on people is not from your average person. So it's just not. And Pew Research actually backed this up not too long ago. I think it was last year. May or may not have mentioned it on the show, actually, that 90% of tweets on Twitter come from like 10% of accounts. So
Yeah.
you hear a very small minority all of the time on Twitter.
Mm.
And so it kind of proved that point even further. All of a sudden, all of these popular, very active, verified accounts get shut down. And Twitter's basically silent. We saw some jokes, it's the uprising of the unverified people, things like that. The blue checks are gone, throw a crab rave or something like that. It was very funny, honestly, but very weird because the whole nature of the platform changed for a few hours at least.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really. It's scary for sure. It's kind of unsettling that this could happen, but at the end of the day, do we defend against it? No. I mean, this is Twitter's action now. This is something that they either have to decide, hey, we're gonna get people in our company to have access to this kind of power, or they're going to just leave it be and say, well, this already happened once. Of course, none of our other employees are going to get socially engineered by these outside sources to do something like this. Uh, I don't know. I hope that Twitter takes the initiative and sort of nips this while it only happened once and makes sure that it doesn't happen again. But seeing what Twitter's done in the past, do you think that that's going to happen?
Twitter is very reluctant to change things. I'm sorry. They really struggle with that, and a lot of these companies do because it's not very easy to change. I bet you'll see some internal changes that we will never hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean they're gonna have to relook at who has access to what and how. That's gonna be very important for them over the next few weeks. What was interesting to me, also was the timing of these attacks. Not only are we seeing increased pressure on social media to fact check things, we're in the middle right now of a big Facebook ad boycott because a lot of groups are very frustrated with false advertising. Facebook doesn't want to play the moderator in determining what is true and what is false, and so they're just not determining that at all and not taking down false advertisements. And so there's this increase. We're seeing an increase in pressure being applied to social media lately, and we've covered some of that pressure here on this show, whether it be how Twitter handles Donald Trump's tweets. We talked about that plenty last year, with the whole public figures thing, where Twitter would kind of sort of delete in a tweet, but then also not. It was very, very weird seeing that happen. So the social media, because it's playing such a crucial role in society nowadays, an increased role now because of the coronavirus, because all of a sudden we're using social media a whole lot to stay connected, we're also scrutinizing it more. And so it makes me feel like these hackers are almost trying to make a statement. Twitter, don't mess with us. This is what we can do. Hey, Twitter was actually launching a developer API the next day. And of course that rollout got delayed.
Yeah, I think rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. Obviously they need to do some internal work before they can overhaul their APIs. But very interesting, honestly, like this whole the timing of it it feels weird. Almost as if they were trying to say, okay, sure, we did cryptocurrency this time. What will it be next time?
Yeah, it definitely feels like this won't be the last. All right, so our new episode back. It has finally come to the last segment of the show, but it's a pretty good one. It's one I'm definitely invested in. It is the fact that TikTok is maybe going to get banned in the coming months.
Maybe. I would hope so. I hate to be honest.
I don't know. I love the app. I love the app a lot.
I don't think it contributes much to society, in my opinion.
I mean,
that's a whole separate debate.
I think despite opinions on the app, I think it kind of it'd be really, really weird considering the scenario or the situation with it and what's been happening. I mean, basically, just for anybody who's not in like the TikTok sphere and knows what's been happening, President Donald Trump has been talking about banning. I don't know if it's specifically him. I'm pretty sure
It's more the FTC, and that's because of ongoing negotiations with China.
I think in general, though, most of the pressure is from him. I mean, that's where we saw the pressure from the import ban a while back.
The Huawei thing.
The whole Huawei thing, with stuff like that. I mean, that's where we saw the pressure. And I think it's the same here, considering the scenario. So basically what happened is, I believe, I don't know how long ago it was, but a while back, a lot of people on TikTok used the platform as a area to sort of organize a whole protest, like a no sit-in protest on one of his events, on one of his sort of campaign trail things. So people would go and reserve tickets using false names and false addresses, and also their real addresses. And they would reserve a ticket, or 2 or 3 or as many as they could. They would reserve them, and then they would go and just not go. They would just sit out of the event. So he basically started talking to a like 1/3 full like stadium of people at a rally, and from there you can see how he would want to ban the app if it's sort of consolidated and made everything
because they basically
easier
told
for
him.
people.
I mean, it's classic internet trolling, and
it
honestly,
was a very well executed thing.
It's clever. 2 counterpoints though on its effectiveness, because while I think it was cute and I think it was funny, and I think people can do, if they want to do that, that's fine. 2 counterpoints though, because while I think it was funny, I don't think it was that effective. I think there's better ways to protest him if you want to do that, because they weren't reserving seats. What they were doing was signing up for a chance to attend. So
yeah.
The lack of attendance then wasn't actually the fact that too many people booked tickets. The lack of attendance is, I don't know, maybe because there's a giant pandemic going on. So those are my only 2 counterpoints to that. But yeah, you're right. They trolled him pretty hard. So a lot of people are like, oh, Trump wants to ban TikTok. I would argue it's more of the China thing. I mean, we've been talking about China on this show for a year now. I mean, things aren't getting any better with them.
I think in general, though, a lot of the people who use the app have said this too. They don't care about their information that much. I mean, it's stuff that American companies are already collecting, and actually, in a recent diagnosis of the app, Facebook and Google are actually collecting a lot more and using it for things like targeted advertising, which is basically what TikTok is using this information for.
I don't know. I would argue that we know very obviously, we know very clearly what data Facebook and Google collects and why they collect it, for targeted advertising. Whereas with TikTok, it's kind of up in the air. We don't really know exactly what they're collecting or what they're using it for. I think that makes people a little bit more worried.
I mean, I think the idea that they have something big and nefarious going on with this is something that I think the people, mainly the president, are kind of spinning to sort of make this seem like we don't need the app, that it's actually compromising national security, when the case isn't that at all.
Well, was Huawei compromising national security? Probably not.
Yeah. I think in general,
was it still concerning what they were doing? Was it still concerning what they were doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was concerning. I think in general, though, if it is compromising national security, it would be doing that on phones that government officials own and maybe politicians. So I think in general, yeah, take it off their phones. Government officials and politicians cannot own phones that have the TikTok or any Chinese or non-American, I guess you would want to bring it to at that point.
We saw
sort of blanket non-American apps cannot be on government officials' phones if that's where we're going to take it. Because I mean, at this point, apps are taking so much information from us daily.
Definitely.
I mean, I think overall, TikTok isn't even the worst offender. I think by far it's Facebook and Google. And yes, we know where some of that's going, but we've had multiple cases where we had to bring Facebook to a court to have them talk about what information they're taking from us.
Or before Congress. I mean...
Yeah, we had to take them before Congress to see what actually are they taking from consumers.
And
I think overall it's less terrifying than that.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, we know Facebook and Google use it specifically for targeted advertising. I would argue we know less about TikTok, and that makes people that should raise eyebrows a little bit. And also, I think there was a little bit more concerning stuff with TikTok because they were actually caught stealing from people's clipboards on their phone. That's a yikes. I mean, even the Facebook app doesn't do that. I mean, I just don't see the need to grab whatever is on a person's clipboard on their phone, what they're copying and pasting. That's a red flag for me. And it turned out this was due to iOS 14, actually. The iOS 14 beta let people see if apps were grabbing their clipboard data. And it turned out LinkedIn was as well. So it's not just TikTok that was doing that. There was some other American apps that were doing that as well. That's very shady, whether you're TikTok or whether you're LinkedIn, to grab whatever someone has on their clipboard and maybe upload that to a server somewhere. That's yikes.
I think in general, though, this doesn't need to be a question of, are we going to ban TikTok? I think this needs to be a question of, are we going to find out what's happening with this app and see, hey, is it actually stealing a ridiculous amount of data that we cannot allow in our country? Or are we just trying to spin some narrative that people from China are trying to steal our data? And I think at this point, that's kind of what's happening.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, if we could get more information, maybe that would make people feel a bit more comfortable. I think an outright ban, as much as I want to go, yay, ban TikTok, because I don't particularly like the app very much, but my own personal biases aside, I think that's a bit excessive unless it's very, very, very national security implications, That would be the only circumstance, like a Huawei type situation, maybe 10 times worse. It's already way too popular. Banning it, I mean,
I think it begs the question.
People are going to figure out how to bypass that.
I think the question is then, is your data your own if you don't have the right to give it away? I mean, if the government is mandating what data you're allowed to give to a company or not give, what data you're allowed to say, hey, I know what this app is doing. I am okay with them having or stealing some of my data. If you're okay with that, are you allowed to download the app?
Well,
I would say yes. If you know the implications of what the app is doing, then you are fully allowed to download whatever nefarious app you want.
Well, I think it's also not necessarily the government worried too much about data. I think it's they're more worried about the implications of letting this company operate in the US. I think that's the big sort of scare factor, I guess. Because what they do with that data is going to be a key factor in sort of gauging how they are as a company and whether or not we can trust them operating in the United States. So I think it's not necessarily they're mishandling the data, because every company's mishandling data. Let's just be honest here. I mean, we've seen password breach after password breach after password breach. There's no perfect company out there handling our data. I would argue that Google's probably doing the best because they've kind of got the transparency figured out, as well as the balance of what's right to collect and what isn't. Facebook's obviously been a bit worse about that because we've seen Cambridge Analytica. That was a big scare for lots of people. But honestly, if we can just get some transparency out of them, I think it would be a big nothing burger. I honestly do. The problem is we just don't have that transparency yet, and so people are assuming the worst, and then they go, okay, we need to ban it then.
I think right now we're taking it way too far. Honestly, I don't see it going through. I don't think we're going to ban the app.
No, I don't either.
Considering what's happened in the past, I mean, we banned a whole phone company, and then, I mean, didn't we stop? We stopped selling or having Huawei sell in the States, but
and we
opened back up.
And we stopped them from doing business with U.S. businesses, which we talked about this on the show. They couldn't use the Google Play Store on their phones anymore. That had to have hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen in this scenario. I don't think it's feasible, really. We have no evidence that they're mishandling data to the degree that people are saying they are. I think maybe they're collecting a lot of it, and I think the reasons that they're collecting it aren't as nefarious as people are thinking. I mean, of course, I use the app though, so I probably am affected by the sort of swaying that it is. I'm biased,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't think it'll. I don't think it'll happen.
Now,
What do you
my
think?
my best bet, honestly, here is honestly people are blowing it out of proportion quite a bit, but also I just don't see it getting banned. That seems unrealistic at this point, unless something
Yeah,
super, 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 super. I can't stress that enough. Unless something super serious was going on, it's just not going to happen.
yeah. I think if something big, really, really big is happening with our data, then yes, obviously, I think it'll get banned. I think there's force enough behind this to get it banned if something like that is happening. But at this point, I mean, people have dug through the app and what it's been doing, and I don't think anything is happening. I just don't think there's anything to point to that at this point.
Yeah, it definitely seems unlikely for sure. But that pretty much wraps it up, I think, for today's
Hmm.
episode. Lots of interesting topics.
Very
Finally have
interesting.
finally have some tech to talk about at least.
Just a little.
Like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, make sure you guys tune in next week because we will be covering in depth the Xbox event,
Mhm.
and we'll get you up to speed on the console wars, what's been going on between Xbox and PlayStation, because we finally have that console rivalry again. Even
Yeah.
though you and I maybe probably don't care too much for
Oh
console
yeah.
plebs, um, we're definitely PC gamers,
Hmm.
but it will be very
PC gamers.
interesting.
Yeah.
It will be very interesting to see what they come up with. But
Hmm.
it feels so good to be back and talking
It
about
does.
the tech news. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Make sure you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Definitely.
I'm Bryce. That's Aidan. And this has been Let's Talk Tech.
Thanks for talking tech.